Good afternoon. It's time to call to order the August 22nd, 2017 meeting of the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. First item, if you're a citizen here and wish to be heard, there are sign-up cards out in the lobby. Please go and get one and turn it into us up here, and when your item is heard, then we will call on you to speak. Please limit your comments to the item on the agenda. If you want to speak about items who are not on the agenda, there'll be a time at the end of the time for you to be able to do that. With that being said, first item of business is to approve the minutes of the July 25th meeting.
So moved.
Motion is second. Any comments? Seeing none, cast your votes, and it is so ordered. Next on the agenda is to ratify the OCEDT claims. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Please cast your votes, and the claims are ratified. Next are items that need individual consideration. First item, Eric Winger will handle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have an item for your consideration today. This is amendment number 2 to the joint contract for engineering services with the City of Oklahoma City, Crafton Toll and Associates for Project MS-49. This is a sidewalk project, and this is an engineering amendment to actually decrease the amount in that contract. The very first amendment was one that was processed some time ago, which actually included the addition of some TIF funding for various TIF-funded sidewalks. This was a city contract, but then we expanded it for the TIF proceeds. Since that amendment was processed, we found that there's no longer the need to continue the TIF funding, and so this reduces the amount of the contract to close out that portion and allow us to move forward. So the reason that we're here today is because that part of the contract was part of this Economic Development Trust approval. We still have the city contract in place, but this takes care of all the business for this trust. So with that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
We have a motion to approve the amendment. A second. Please cast your votes, and it's so approved. Thank you, Eric. Next up, Brent Bryant.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This amendment number 1 to the Rock Island Plow Economic Development Agreement decreases the amount of TIF that was allocated to the project by $850,000. Approximately $500,000 of that was in the form of a 10-year loan that we were anticipating providing to the project, but the developer does not need that, so we're amending the agreement to remove that. In addition, we're reducing the amount of capital investment for the developer from $13 million to $9.5 million. We are reducing the amount of TIF that they're eligible for, which is commensurate with that, which is roughly about 10.5% of the project. And also this amendment will unallocate that $850,000 from our TIF budget, so we'll be able to have that budget authority for future projects too. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
The money that we are doing under there, the what is it right now?
It was $1.35 million in installment incentives and a $500,000 loan.
Okay, but the money, in order to get the money that we are still allocating, the developer will have to do what?
He will have to complete the project. He will have to show us that, he will have to document that he has expended at least $9.5 million, and then he will have to pay property taxes. Any property taxes over $16,000, he will benefit from that. We'll provide that back to him, but there's an annual cap of $150,000 that we will provide. If his taxes are over that, that additional funds will accrue to the TIF district.
Questions from the trustees? We have a motion. Second. Please cast your votes. And it is so approved. Next item, yours also, Brent.
Yes, this is a quick claim deed transferring some property that's right in the heart of the Scissortail Park that the Economic Development Trust owns, and we're just doing a quick claim deed here to transfer it to the city, so it's under the proper ownership.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Please cast your votes, and the deed is conveyed. Next item. Kirk, are you taking the lead on this?
This is our project. I don't have the agenda in front of me, so. Hi, I'm Kurt Foreman with the Economic Development Foundation at the Chamber, and I am standing in. I'm the stunt double for Greg Atkin today, who works for an airline, and that airline did not get him here because of a snafu. So I am him today. That's not a cut on his airline because it's a very good airline, but he could not get here in time for the meeting. SkyWest is, he's asked me to share his PowerPoint with you. They're actually probably, if you haven't heard of SkyWest before, they're actually one of the largest airlines in the United States. They fly 2,200 flights a day, over 2,200 flights a day, but they fly for other flags. So they fly for United, they fly for American, they fly for Delta, and they fly for Alaska Airlines. So they have over 400 airplanes and well over 11,000 full-time equivalents in their staff. So this is not a small entity. They were founded in 1972, and they are considered the world's largest regional airline. They provide those regional routes. They use over 400 airplanes in the 50 to 76 seat range throughout North America, and they generate over $3 billion in revenue as a company. In 2016, they carried over 31 million passengers in partnership with those 4 airlines that I mentioned. They have chosen, after an effort of working within their team and with us here in the community, and that us here in the community is the airport authority, which played lead on this throughout much of the process. We supported them at the foundation and then worked obviously with the city throughout this process. It was a competitive process, but they have selected our community to build a large maintenance facility which would handle the expansion that they expect of their fleet. And we were among a number of cities in the central part of the United States that were considered. So once they became focused on our market, we then took them through the process of incentives to show what could be possible, and they decided that this market made sense. So it was, in their minds, a decisive part of the business case for choosing our area. So what's going to happen with this project? They are going to build a very large building at the airport. I'll show you a picture of the one they built in Boise in a second that matches, this will be almost identical to the one that will be here, but nearly $30 million of capital investment. That includes the lease of the land from the airport authority and then construction of the maintenance facility that they expect. They currently have a very small number of employees here in the market because they do fly here already, supporting those airlines I mentioned. But they plan to generate 375 more jobs here over the next few years, and they are actually underway on their process right now. And they expect to be operational by summer of 2018. They expect the average wages of these people to be around $60,000 a person, and it will include both maintenance personnel as other work groups, which include flight crews and that sort of thing that would be based here in the community. They're very proud as a company to be very community-oriented, and that's exactly one of the things we like when we bring new companies to the community. We like to see them become part of the community and give back and not just sort of benefit from us without being partners in the community. And so they do that a lot of places. They work with the United Way, things like Habitat for Humanity, the Cancer Society, Red Cross. They do stuff with groups around autism and also helping kids enjoy the things that they should enjoy when they are kids. So they give back in every community they're in, and we should expect that as well. So this is what the facility is going to look like, and it's going to go between the Atlantic FBO and Field Aerospace on the airport, on the east side of the airport, and they've worked through their processes. And so this is the Boise facility, but it will be comparable to this. And there's another picture on the next page that shows, to give you a scale with some planes in front of it, But they will do maintenance on their larger fleet here, as well as use it as a base for their crews and all that will be here. So that's sort of their situation. It's interesting if we ran the model and the induced and indirect, all the direct and indirect things, we expect over just the first 3 years for this to generate about $327 million worth of economic impact. That's all the direct wages, the construction. That's also all the people that go to work because these jobs and investment are happening. So that ripple effect will be very positive for the community. They are here today because we've negotiated or we've discussed with them a incentives package of $2 million to support this project, and we're bringing it before you for your consideration.
Okay. What we're doing today is we're just authorizing Brent to negotiate the specifics of the
Correct.
agreement, and then that will come back to us. Is that right, Brent? And it'll be a pay-for-performance type of contract like you do in the past.
Like to move the item?
Yes, Madam President. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is so approved. Thank you, Kurt.
We'll make sure they come in and to visit with you when they can, so thank you.
They can't use the excuse of not in maintenance.
Okay, next on our agenda is the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation fourth quarter report.
I feel like Brent this week. Hi, I'm also Kurt Foreman with the Economic Development Foundation.
You're still Kurt Foreman.
Still am. Our packet this time is our end of the year packet. It's hard to believe that we've gone through another one of those. This is my 5th time doing this with you. Next month is my 5th anniversary here in Oklahoma City, so we're finishing up lap 5. It was really a very interesting year in the sense that we've spoken at some of the past quarters, everything from lulls due to, I personally believe that the federal election cycle, and I've talked to other people around the country, they saw the same thing, and that's not just this time. It happens every 4 years. Companies pause to see what happens before they then make their further decisions. We had a bit of that here. We had a drop-off in some of our key sectors during the past year or so that started to come back during this past 12 months. But many of the jobs we saw were not in aerospace. Obviously today was, but were not in aerospace. They were not in energy. They were in other sectors, which, while those salaries were down a bit, the reality is that's part of our, you can view that as diversification. It allows us to help other sectors grow at a time when some of our maybe most overtly key sectors were a little bit slower. But we're seeing that all now come back fairly vigorously. We have other aerospace projects looking at the market right now and are seeing a lot. In terms of details in the report, I tried to give you a pretty detailed analysis of what I thought was going on in the different sectors. The most notable area where we had a fall off was in our existing and business engagement effort. We called on about 55% of the number we typically have. That wasn't because of lack of interest. We had a death in our staff and also a change in staff. And we've also spent the time deciding to change the focus of that team to focus on both talent and the talent needs of our existing companies, as well as just calling on them to sort of check in on them. So I think you'll see in the coming year a much more robust agenda around helping companies. The good news is, while the number of calls were down, the number of assists barely dropped, which meant we helped a lot of companies during this past year who might have needed a referral, who might have needed some help on a particular issue, but we were still engaged. We just engaged in a slightly different manner. But leads picked up significantly during the past year, which there's some information in here about that. We're very encouraged. We're at about 48 to 50 projects at the moment. and are very pleased that companies are starting to, again, move through that process more vigorously. And we actually hope to have an announcement before the end of the week of a very large project that's been pending for a while. That's obviously going to count in the new quarter, but I think we ended the year on a real positive note. We went through a little bit of a lull, a little bit of a valley, but we were all working hard. We did a lot of work trying to think about the future, think about sites, think about other opportunities, getting the word out. We worked a lot with the Alliance and the city on a couple key sites in the community that we think will be positive opportunities in the future that need to be worked on so they're ready for prospects in the future. And I'm very bullish on the new year. But I'm happy to answer any questions if something struck you in the report. There's also 3 significant documents that should have been handed out with our report. One is our At a Glance, which is our sort of overview of the community that we reproduce every year and update. Another is one called Citywise, which we call internally the beauty piece, which is just sort of meant to showcase how beautiful our city and community is. Because for those people who have never been here, they might picture something completely different than the reality of Oklahoma City. And then the last one is our most recent piece developed to support the retail recruitment effort that we do in conjunction with the city and the Alliance and others at ICSC and throughout the year. So all 3 of those new pieces are in the back for your review as well. Any questions I can answer? It's been an interesting year.
One question, as a citizen of Oklahoma City who might like to know what's going on in the city with regards to some of the activities that are covered in these materials, how can they stay informed?
How can they stay informed? Well, hopefully they're following the trust. I don't know, do we have a website that follows what the trust has going on? The city's website is always a good place.
I think social media, the chamber puts a lot of stuff on social media, on Facebook. And
we also run a social media both under the chamber name but also Greater Oklahoma City, which is meant to be both greater but also greater. And so we do that and we highlight announcements and cool things that are going on throughout the year. If a new move is made on something that's going to make a difference, we try to highlight that. We also celebrate cool things going on in the community, so that's always a good place. I'd be more than happy to take calls from people if they have questions about something that they're excited about. I had a citizen in South Oklahoma City email me the other day and then start a petition that I get an update every day on, wanting to have a Warren Theater here in Oklahoma City. They're sad that the Warren Theater and more has changed format, I guess. I haven't been there before, but they would like to have the old Warren Theater in Oklahoma City. So I'm now on a petition alert, and that's fine. I emailed with the young lady, and she is just very excited and wants things to happen in Oklahoma City, which is great because we want people to want to see more happen in our community.
Well, that was kind of a loaded question because I was reading this material this morning and I got so charged up I thought, I need to move to this town. And then I realized,
we would love to have you if you'd like to come.
And I think that's familiarity breeds contempt a little bit. Maybe we become a little lax in knowing how good we've got it here, and these publications here certainly highlight some very exciting
things. Well, the publications in the back that you saw are actually on, if you go to greateroklahomacity.com, all our publications are there in electronic form where you can almost like flip through an electronic magazine and see these publications online. Actually, most people get them or read them, digest them online. We still print some for trade shows and things like that, but usually most people engage us through the websites.
And just to add to that, there are nice videos on the website. Mm-hmm. There are hard copies in the Chamber's offices. Mm-hmm. Also visit OKC.com.
Right.
There are a lot of things relative to the tourism industry. And this would make a really nice coffee table book for
Absolutely.
all the families that are
in
visiting.
your offices or home.
Yes.
You're right, though. Mr. McAtee, you're right. I think we often get spoiled that we assume lots of communities have the kind of momentum that our community has had for the last number of years. And having moved from somewhere else that we thought was nice, that's not always the case. And there are places that wish, as you know, there are places that wish they could have even part of what we have. But we're growing at twice the national rate still in terms of population, and companies take notice. The accolades continue, and we have a whole section on that website as well where you can look up the latest accolades about Oklahoma City area, and we continue to get noticed.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments or questions? Could use a motion to receive, then. Second, please cast your votes. And it is so done.
Thank you for your partnership.
Next up, the Alliance.
In your packets is also the fourth quarter report for the Alliance for Economic Development. This is also our year-end report, and just wanted to hit on a couple of highlights from the last quarter. I think all of you know that we've been very, very busy with the Convention Center Hotel, and we're able to wrap up negotiations with Omni during the past quarter and take that item to City Council in July. So we now have a signed redevelopment agreement with Omni. We've acquired all of the parcels for the hotel site, and we've developed, completed the analysis for the funding plan for the public participation that's a part of that project, and that funding plan was also approved by City Council in July. So we're now in the process of implementing all of those things, and there'll be more items to come before this trust and the City Council in the future. We're continuing to work on the parking garage to serve the convention center, the park, and the hotel and the arena. We are continuing discussions with OG&E and evaluating alternatives for the parking for those facilities. On job creation, we worked on the Sky West project. We've worked on a couple of other big ones that are underway still. Working with the Airport Trust on AAR expansion and a grant application with the EDA that they've submitted. And then we've been working to update the gold bond policy that went to City Council a few weeks ago prior to the calling of the election for September 12th. In Northeast Oklahoma City, we continue a lot of different efforts in Northeast Oklahoma City. Maybe most notably is the Page Woodson School project was completed during the last quarter. So they are moving people into those affordable housing units, and then an entity that the Alliance created called Progress OKC is managing the commercial space there. So if you ever have the need for a auditorium space for a meeting or a flat floor space, we've got some great space available at great rates close to downtown. We continue to build single-family homes in the JFK area. And JFK is the area pretty much immediately east of the Oklahoma Health Center. Urban Renewal still owns about 600 lots in that area. We're beginning to see quite a bit of increased interest in single-family home building in that area, so we're pretty excited about that. Lots of young couples wanting to build houses there and have people living back in those neighborhoods again. We're working with the Oklahoma City Public Schools to acquire a couple surplus school buildings in Northeast Oklahoma City to redevelop those for housing or commercial uses, or we'll take proposals and see what we get on those. We have a contract with the Commissioners of Land's Office, which is a state agency, to help them with some community engagement work for a development that they've proposed at Northeast 50th and Lincoln. So we continued to work with them. We have also been acquiring key sites in Northeast Oklahoma City as a part of the Northeast Renaissance Urban Renewal Plan implementation. We have 4 sites under contract, and we hope to be able to close on, we already closed on one of them, but we hope to be able to close on the other 3 in the next couple months. And then we've been working with a group of developers for a development at 1700 Northeast 23rd Street, which would be the new home for the Oklahoma City Clinic and some other retail office, medical office uses. That's a great project for Northeast 23rd Street. Also in Northeast Oklahoma City, we've been working on the Innovation District work. We've been helping with some of the issues around governance and what the new governance entity will look like for the Innovation District, and then also working to try to put together a group of people to do a land use study for the health center for the Innovation District area east of I-235 in particular, to help us identify the best locations for some additional commercial development, maybe some restaurants, retail, residential development that area really needs if we're going to get it going the way that it's supposed to. So I think that pretty much summarizes everything we were working on. There were a few downtown projects, the First National Center, obviously some other projects, smaller residential projects that are popping up around downtown. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kathy. Questions of Kathy or comments? Seeing none, I need a motion to receive. Please cast your votes. And it is received. General Manager's report.
Just a few things in the General Manager's report. The financials are through June 30, the year end, and they reflect the receipt of TIF ad valorem revenues in TIF 2, 4, and 6 that we received in early June. There's also a report about outlet mall sales that I think is near the back of the report. Sales for August 2016 to June 2017 have fallen below target by 4.4% and below the prior year sales for the same months by 3%. I think that, that kind of reflects what's been happening with some of the other cities' sales tax collections and in different categories. The outlet mall is under new ownership. It's owned by the Outlet Resource Group, and we've been pretty impressed with their efforts to improve marketing of the center. They've already begun some appearance improvement projects out there, trying to, freshen up the look of the center, better identify entrances and exits, improve signage, those kinds of things. Plus, their marketing, I think, will help a great deal, too. So that's about all I have.
Any questions for Kathy? Seeing none, has anybody signed up?
No.
Okay. Any staff with any comments? Seeing none, we are adjourned.